Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. I believe we don't have anybody listening to good evening at this moment. My name is Paulo Mol. I'm the country manager for AGRA in Mozambique. I wanted to welcome all of you to this webinar, a webinar that promises a lot in terms of sharing on what we have done from what we have promised to do. And we will have here a number of speakers. I want just very quickly to take you through the agenda, what we are on. From my introductions and welcome at this point, I would like first to ask everybody on the chat to put in their names and their position in the organization that they represent, so that can help us to look at the scenario that we are in today. Secondly, on our agenda, after my intro, will be followed by our regional heads, Mr. Daibon Shibonga, regional head for Southern Africa, including Mozambique, Malawi, and Zambia. After that, we'll have our Vice President, Agi Kondi, to give us some keynote address to this meeting. Following that, we will be listening to what the country team has prepared in terms of what we're going to share today, which is basically the fundamentals of our interventions in Mozambique, around which we later then, we will have, we'll follow with a section of Q&As. You can use the Q&A section to introduce your questions, and somebody will be looking at it and bring it to the section. After that, we will have a big section with our panelists. The panelists include representatives of the government. We're hoping that the National Director for Planning and Policy will be here, but we just got to know that it will be represented by somebody else, because there is a big meeting in preparation of the campaign, the agriculture season that will follow. Then we'll have a group of panelists that will be talking about system level interventions that we have taken, some of which are implementing partners for the consortia that we have co-created. And in that section, we'll have Mr. Abdul, a leader from Tumiha Consortium in the Nagala Corridor. Thereafter, we'll have Professor Kembo that will be talking about one of our refinements of the Consortium Model on public-private partnerships on seed and fertilizer. Thereafter, we hope to have a representation of government at the provincial level, because that's where our interventions happen. And that section will also have testimonials from private sector. A number of partners that they have confirmed their presentation includes Mr. Afzal Ibrahim from Sama Imports and Exports, an off-taker, Simon Monagwame from Sitco, Celia Ribeiro from Lutiare, Nilsa Francisco from Impere, Evodia Guerra, and VBAS representatives who will have also their testimonies around here. After that, we will have to wrap up with, first with the question and answer section as well. We will interact. And at the end, we will have closing remarks for this section. So having said that, with not much ado, I will ask our regional head to provide his opening remarks. Mr. Darbon, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Morley. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. I'm so delighted to see you all gathered here today at this webinar. We certainly wish it was possible to be meeting physically, to cross-fertilize ideas and lessons, but we all know the challenges that we have with COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, AGRA Strategy 2017-2021 is coming to an end. I am happy to share that many of the programs have been well implemented and are successfully phasing out. For that, a great appreciation goes to our implementing partners, to the government, and all the other stakeholders whose contributions made it possible to ensure that the programs are finishing strong. This is the time, therefore, to look back and see what was accomplished and celebrate. As we are moving into our next strategy, it is also time to learn from our mistakes and challenges for better planning of our next interventions. We also need to recognize that this is quite a challenging period, as in the last 2 years, our programs have been affected by the COVID-19 outbreak, which we all need to learn to live with. Ladies and gentlemen, public and private partnerships are key for sustainability of the good work that is being done by all for inclusive agricultural transformation in this country, in the region, and also on the whole continent. There is need for more collaboration to avoid duplication of efforts with scarce funding resources. There is also need for expanding partnerships and strengthening of the existing networks for synergy. And there is need for capturing success stories and lessons that will inform future programs. A recent review of PNISA, commissioned by AGRA in collaboration with the World Bank, has shown that there are still key challenges to be tackled for Mozambique's agricultural transformation. From an institutional perspective, there are technical, financial, and coordination gaps and shortcomings in achieving established strategic objectives and targets set for the plan. The review also pointed out the need for government, led by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, MADA, in close collaboration with key stakeholders to do the following: continue to improve significantly the effectiveness of coordination at various levels, to strengthen and operationalize the sector-wide monitoring and evaluations, which will support more efficient, effective, and timely decision-making, to develop a strategy and mechanisms for mobilizing the required financial resources for the implementation of PNISA, and also improve supply and use of quality fertilizer, seeds, and dissemination of agricultural extension messages and training services using ICT and rural inclusive financing through updating and drafting regulatory frameworks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's sad to say that Mozambique continues to lag behind other countries on the crop production and productivity, as well as on the volumes and value of inputs that are being accessed by farmers. As such, there is still strong need to put more efforts on inputs, particularly improved seed and fertilizer value chains, for better access and use by smallholder farmers. We call for partners' engagement and collaboration in designing programs and interventions that promote suitable agriculture input packages and also include produce markets. Agriculture finances also pose a challenge to enhance access to inputs by smallholder farmers. AGRA calls for implementing partners and the private sector to work in close collaboration with finance institutions in the design and implementation of appropriate financing models that enables inputs to reach farmers at affordable prices. SMEs development, training, and coaching is key for success so that the good work we have done this far does not stop. We are all aware that projects and programs have short, medium, and long-term spans. For sustainability, our work should catalyze other investments and create and develop institutions that will be here for sustainability beyond the life of our programs, so that we can achieve food and nutrition security and increase incomes and achieve inclusive agricultural transformation. So we have gathered here today to share our strategy results and hear from our partners, both public and private, on the successes and challenges, and of course, get recommendations that may inform designing of future interventions. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention. Let us continue to follow the COVID-19 safety guidelines that have been given to avoid infecting ourselves, our families, and our colleagues. It is now my pleasure and honor to introduce Agi Konde, who is AGRA Vice President for Program Innovation and Delivery, PID, to make the keynote address. Muito obrigado. Agi, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dibon and Paulo. And I would like to as well join my colleagues in welcoming you all to this meeting. Thank you, our partners, for joining. I'm joining you from cold Nairobi. Our temperatures have dropped significantly, but I again want to thank our dear Lord that all of us are safe. We all know what has happened to most of our families with the COVID death and the COVID infections, and I hope that you are all taking time to get vaccinated. If not, that you will be, and that we will be meeting each other face to face in a very short time. That said, my team and I would like to once again thank our partners that have made time to attend this webinar and welcome you to the meeting. My point in this meeting is to really open it up, but most importantly, to articulate a few things or a few reasons that we came into this life of a strategy. As you all know, this year marks the end of our 2017 to 2021 strategy. And we came in with three major levers that we thought would contribute to inclusive agriculture transformation. Our first lever was to strengthen planning, coordination, and support ag investments through our policy and state capability work. And I know that our country manager, Paulo, will be walking us through what success looks like so far in those endeavors. The other was to take a systemic approach in making sure that we are building from the foundation upwards across the input system, the extension system, and the inclusive finance system, ensuring that they are functional and they are working to the benefit of the smallholder farmer. And again, he will be giving us a state of play in terms of where we are at with that. And the third pillar of our work was around private sector engagement. And in this particular one, we were looking to unlock some of the key constraints that have not allowing private sector to participate in inclusive agriculture transformation. And again, we will be seeing whether our efforts in this area indeed crowded in private sector investments, especially across the value chains in which we operate. So as you know, of course, we do not do this work alone. Our contribution is just but a drop in the ocean. So we work with lots of our partners. We've worked with most of you, our grantees who are on the call, with our development partners, and of course with government, most importantly. And I'm happy to see that most of us are on the call today. So we will be looking to learn, to hear your inputs, to hear your comments on what worked, what didn't work, what could have worked differently. But most importantly, in this particular life of a strategy, what did we build? What are the building blocks that we will be closing with as we start out the new strategy, which, as Dibon says, we are now trying to articulate, and we will be coming out to you to consult on that. Maybe as a parting shot from myself, one of the key things that we noted and have learned also from COVID is really the conversation on resilience. The question I want to leave with all of us is, do we feel that as we close out on this strategy, our smallholder farmers are now able to absorb shocks as and when they come to them? If the answer is likely to be a no, as I suppose it will be, maybe we've made some efforts, but not all, what are the things that we need to put in place to make sure that our smallholder farmers will be able to absorb any shock, whether socio-economic or environmental shock that hits them as and when it comes? Because if they are not resilient, then the efforts of all our work will not be sustainable, and we will keep coming back to these conversations every 5 years. So I would like to welcome you once again to this webinar. Thank you for accepting our team's invitation to attend, and look forward to learning and unlearning from all the experiences that you have all contributed to the success that we are currently seeing. Thank you very much. And as we say in Swahili, asante sana, and wish you very good deliberation. Thank you, all of you. And back to you, Paulo.
Thank you, Agi, for this opening, this keynote address, and for the most critical areas of what we have agreed that we will be doing it, and indeed it's around those items that we will be sharing some of our results. Having said that, let me share my screen on the presentation and get started on that. Thank you. Can you all see my screen? Hello?
Yes. Please put it in a presentation mode. Thank you.
Yes, it is.
Not yet in presentation mode, but we can see it.
Okay. All right. Still not in presentation mode. Okay. Let me say thank again for your presence and participation. I'm going to go very quickly on what we'll be going through this presentation. First, to say provide some basics on why we invested in Mozambique, our theory of change, the mapping on our partners in the agricultural landscape, which is very important for in terms of with whom we should be counting, also in terms of alignment, collaboration, and partnership, and so on. What we said, what we will do, and how we have done it, and then I'll provide some few highlights on results, impacts, and what we consider to be our contribution to the changes we're seeing in the agriculture sector. And at the end, finalize with challenges and lessons from the program implementation. When we started, basically we did a scooping studies that showed to us, in particular, what was going on in the agriculture sector. As Daibon and Ag has mentioned, there was a review, a joint review between AGRA and the World Bank on the review of the PNISA that was ending to match its end with the PESA that now we all know that both have ended, and then the government has engaged into the second stage of those documents. So what the most appealing factor was there that there was some optimal agriculture sector coordination and planning. Sorry. I'm told that the slides are not moving. Is this for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Then there is a problem here. Let me stop sharing and get back. It's just a frozen screen.
It has moved, Paulo.
Okay, it's the...
But it's still not in presentation mode.
That's the problem. It's not moving because of exactly that. When I put it in presentation mode, it's not moving as...
Okay, then just to increase the percentage and be touching each side as you follow. Try full view in the view so that it takes out the bars.
Paulo, if you
Yes.
allow me, to save time, maybe you could continue the way it is because we can really see it. It would be better to have it in a presentation mode, but we can still see it. Thank you. Over.
All right. As I was saying, the review of PNISA has shown that sector coordination and planning was one of the weakest areas, and if any contribution could be done there, will be important. We also found that the use of improved seed, in particular, also together with fertilizer, was only done by 5% of the farmers, mostly in non-food crops. The majority of the farmers, they were excluded from markets, despite the fact that some structured markets of some form were happening. The banking institution continued to lend in very small proportions of their resources in the agriculture. So they need for improved financial product for the type of actors that we're supposed to be supporting, and the systematic and extreme climate shocks that are always recurrent in our country. So this was basically the panorama, the scenario that we found when we did our scoping. But also we had to recognize that AGRA was in Mozambique in the previous 5 years, talking from the 2017, where we mostly invested in some what we call productive and transferable assets. We have worked with the IIM, which is the National Research Institute, in building capacity for breeders. 6 PhD has been trained, around 40 MSCs also trained in several areas of IIM work. And these assets needs to be supported in order to develop their work with breeding programs. There were 12 seed companies that in the past has been supported. They had some capacity, they need to grow. We had also invested in some agro dealers in some of the regions in Mozambique. They were there and then they need to sustain the path to growth as well. Some farmers that were supporting, they will start using some improved seeds and fertilizer, but that work needs to be continued. And in overall, we had given 70 grants during that period that has laid the foundation for what could be a follow-up. Our theory of change was basically to recognize that none of this could not work if we could not put the government in the leadership on coordinating the sector, bringing more resources into the sector, bringing partners and stakeholders together while we are doing the work at the system level, as the Vice President has indicated. So we, has indicated that, again, in each of the regions that we went, and as you will see, we have intervened in 3 regions, the Nacala Corridor, the Zambezi Valley, and then the Beira Corridor. We had to recognize that we were not alone. Not even the resources that we were bringing were that much. We had to bring in resources to catalyze, first recognizing those who are in, and then bringing more resources in areas that are critical and complement the work that we do. Among those those partners, the ones that we at the end we ended up working with, has mapped in these slides. On policy and state capability, one of both works, we had to recognize the work of the World Food Program, the African Development Market, the EU, the World Bank, USAID, and so on. All of those, they were working with government in terms of creating this enabling environment through reform in policies, but also strengthening the capability of the government in taking leadership and coordinating the sector. On CSS development, all the seed companies, fertilizer companies, financial institutions, the research institutes that have infrastructure in the region, that they were all very important to our work. Not to the least, the implementing partners that you will be hearing talking today. On partnership, again, all the most critical, whether they were international or multinational companies in seed and fertilizer, but also local companies that were contributing to our consortia. They are all listed here, and they will be also able to provide some testimonies today. With all that done, what we agreed with our implementing partners, including the government, was support the government was critical on areas that has to do with delivery capacity, coordination, accountability, and as I said, enabling policy environment, and systems development, which later, as I said, if you see in the second column, what we actually focused on was on the Beira corridor. What we found was that we have a very active market players, but what was missing was basically the link between big input suppliers, large off-takers, and the farmers. So creating platforms that bring together the two sides will be very critical to achieve our goals. In Zambezi Valley, we recognize that the market for the Zambezi Valley was either in Nakala corridor or in the Beira corridor. What we had to strengthen was the input distribution. That was the focus, despite the fact that our consortia were also made up with other market activities. In the in the Nakala corridor, a similar situation as the Beira was there, but there we had to focus on developing key actors like SMEs and VBAs, again, to connect large off-takers, input suppliers to farmers. From what I just said, we could see that our approach was basically provide technical assistance either through our staff time, which we spent a lot in some of these critical areas, but also from consultants, mostly when we talk about support to government on policy and safety capability, we resort to staff time and consultancy. But also we consider we consider consortia, which basically the consortia is putting together a few players who are critical in the value chain, looking at where the gaps are and looking capacity to provide solutions to those. So I will be talking a lot about consortia model, but that's the delivery model that AGRA in Mozambique and elsewhere has decided to use to be effective in bringing capacities to address the issues that we have decided to. So basically, on this slide, what we are showing is how much resources we have devoted. Again, on those the three boards of work, in particular on policy state capability, we provided 2 grants. One of them was reforming policies in 3 areas: finance, extension, and fertilizer law and regulation. The second one was focusing on sector coordination, where we put, we'll be talking to this later, where we put some technical advice to build internal capacity to bring together all stakeholders, in particular development partners, private sector, and other civil society. The third one was a policy advocacy that we did with private sector. So to match the policy reforms that we have decided to support, we had to work with the private sector also, hand in hand, to follow up on that. I will be talking to this when I focus on safety capability investments. Following on systems development, again, our focus was delivery through consortia and links to a VBA model. And then we developed first the Kukulisa consortia, the fertilizer consortia, Kukulisa consortium in Utumiha, which are the ones that we start with. Then we complemented with Prodasav in Zambezi Valley, again, dealing with the input distribution network. And as we moved along the implementation, we discovered gaps in those consortia. We will be talking about the seed consortia, the fertilizer consortia, that these consortia came to support our previous investments in these regions to tackle the issue in particular of blanket recommendation to develop site and crop specific blendings. On seed was basically to tackle the issue of early generation seed that was missing. We also add up the inclusive finance, which also was a gap because most of our actors, SMEs and actors in the agro dealers, they were lacking funds to stock inputs. There was a need to link them to financial institutions through an input trade credit scheme. Not to the least, because of the challenges with COVID, we had to somehow reshuffle ourselves and look at what our farmers were facing. And we decided to invest with funds from PIATA partners, in particular the USAID, a mechanization and a resilience in nutrition funding. On partnerships, again, we shall recognize the funding from NIFAD, that they were able to work with us in working in the southern part of the country to provide tissue culture access to IIM and farmers, where we worked with a number of partners, including UEM, Kulima, and IIM, to provide access to these technologies in the cassava value chain. Again, with GAIN, a modest investment in POSIDAI efforts in the Beira corridor with $500,000 using our consortia and VBA model to bring technologies, improve production and productivity in those areas. The USAID buy-in is basically inputs to the seed systems, coordination in partnering with the US with MADER, in critical areas of AGRAs, certified seed, policy reforms, and so on. So this is basically our portfolio that we will be talking in terms of what are the impacts that this has created and the final contribution to. Here is what I have mentioned on policy set capability. Our focus was sector coordination and policy reform. We invested basically around 1.4 million to address those issues. And the results that we consider to be happening at this point, we see, again, in partnership with other all development actors in the space, we see more coordination, more leadership from MADER, at least in bringing actors together through the sector coordination committee that was not functional. We start seeing more involvement, some resources come in. Of course, we are expecting more, because once the PES and PNISA has been developed, the government should be able to use these instruments to mobilize more resources. On policy reform, as I said, it's a long process. but we have moved or helped to move the fertilizer and law and registration, at least from where it was from draft to be on the way to the Council of Ministers after all the consultations and the approval within Madeira. We also now in the stage of working with the Ministry of Agriculture in looking at national extension policy, where previously the idea was to look at IC extension within Madeira and come up with a framework, but the minister has decided that we would like some support in developing a policy framework rather than just a piece of that instrument. On policy advocacy, we are making some strides in terms of involvement of the private sector umbrella, the CTA, bringing them on board and rallying around the development of a dashboard that has already been validated in the area of fertilizer. This is all in support of passing the law on fertilizer. I will move on to extension. On extension, as I mentioned, our consortia, this group of institutions that put their capacity to provide an integrated solution to extension was basically around pushing for increased productivity around farmers. And the way we do that was to support a private extension led or an extension led by private agents, what we call VBAS. In some of the areas, these are private community entrepreneurs that are using extension as one of their business lines. And the idea there is that AGRA was to invest a few resources, about 3.9 million in 3 consortia to build the capacity of these VBAs. At the end of the program, we are proud to say we have created about 2,127 VBAs that help to improve crop productivity in maize, soybean, cassava, and rice, basically targeting the reach, the farmer reach that we were able to reach. 800,000 farmers were able during the last 5 years to work with this group of VBAs in providing them, showing them technologies, showing them good agricultural practices and so on. So these VBAs are entrepreneurs, as I said. Their main mandate is basically to allow farmers to experience these technologies like improved seeds, fertilizers, and so on, to increase productivity, but at the same time to help farmers to aggregate their production as a way of linking them to large off-takers. The data that we are presenting there is basically the number of farmers, of VBAs in blue, that we were able to accumulate over the 4 to 5 years. You can see we went from about 1,000 VBAs in 2018, and now we can claim that at least that capacity is scaled up to about 2,000. And then along with that, you can see also their capacity in reaching more farmers, right? With about 1,000 VBAs who were serving almost 235,000 farmers, but at the end, the 800 that has been served by now by those two. So this capacity, it's there, and then it's complementing the public network, the public extension network that we all know. It's still slim. It does not cover the whole country, even in the regions that we are saying that we have increased the number of VBAs. There are still areas that requires more extension, more exposure to farmers of technologies and so on. But one of the important complements that helped the VBAs to reach more farmers was the small packs. Small packs are basically a way of making farmers who come to our demonstration plots to take these kits and go experiment themselves where they go once they have seen, once they have been trained by farmers. So a total of about 1.5 million small packs were distributed by this number of VBAs I just mentioned. And this will have some grams of quality seed and fertilizer that farmers will then, of course, this for those who are in the private sector, it means that it's a support to demand creation for inputs. Right? If farmers are able to use these packs and experiment in them and see the effects on productivity, it means they will be looking for it through agro dealers. And agro dealers must be able to respond if input suppliers are able to provide them. So what we are seeing on this particular slide is that we have seen a change in adoption of these technologies. Of course, there might be other factors, but these small packs have made a great input. Also, the capacity of VBAs to reach farmers has played a role. There are still some challenges, particularly on adoption of good practices. As you see, there is a change, but that change has been very modest, has been very slow, and something we will focus on as we move forward. But after all, in those areas, and then again, in those regions that we have worked on, we see some changes in yields. So the yields increments, as you see there, has been visible. Of course, this needs to be to put at the scale that's required. But these signs are encouraging, particularly in maize and soybean, as it's shown there. Another area that we would like you to bring is this, what we call our refinement of our consortia model. Putting together capacities of different organizations, it's very critical to reaching results. And this refinement is that we are sharing here, the public-private partnerships in seed systems development, is that these consortia, so IIM and the seed companies that they were focused on increasing availability of early generation seed. And that seed is supposed to feed into these companies and others to increase availability of certified seed. And as later on you will hear from some of our partners here, it was possible to increase at least, and in particular, coming up with hybrid seed. That's an issue in the country that needs to be invested, putting more resources and so on. I will let them to testify on this, but what we wanted to say here is that taking the infrastructures that the government had in place and bringing in private sector companies to work on this particular issue was critical, because the weaknesses from the government side and weaknesses from the private sector were able to come together and be addressed. So technical knowledge was distributed, was shared among these partners, and then the capacity to work together was the main message on this. And then the same thing happened on fertilizer. Right, putting together IIM, UEM, and private sector companies to come up with a solution to blanket fertilizer recommendations was critical. So the soil maps produced by UEM and the blends that then were developed by IIM with input from private sector. The idea is then to pass on these blends onto private sector to produce them massively. We got 2 results there. One was the fact that we came up, I mean, the partners came up with the blends, and these blends, then government recognized them as critical and important, and then they have been approved, and then they are passing into the hands of private sector. So this notion of putting together capacities to solve critical issues in systems is the key message that we would like to pass here, and to be continued in the future, has relevance and efficiency is being recognized. Last but not the least, in this area is the efforts of our consortia in markets. The key message is markets are fundamental in providing signals for what happens in the production. So getting the market closer to farmers to provide those signals, it helps to push productivity up with quality and in efficiency. So the focus here was that we saw from 2017 to 20 that about the 9.1 million that we invested in the consortia to do this work in the 3 regions, it was possible to bring in private sector investments, create the value of about 94.1 million. It means that private sector are seeing an interest, a commercial interest in what, in terms of investment in the supply chain for what they do. So in summary is that for every dollar that we invested in, which is not much, it's bringing about $10, so 10 times more than that. But again, the message here is that providing incentives to farmers and helping them to respond to those is what creates value at this point. We saw it, for instance, the amount of seed sold during that period increased more than 8 times. We are starting from very low levels. It means that seed companies are responding in terms of production, but also using the consortia approach in developing these actors in rural areas to channel through their inputs for sale. Fertilizer sold, we still say it's at the lowest, I mean, it's still low, but we start seeing fertilizer being sold in those areas. Has increased more than 5 times from 2018 as we see. Crop sold, which is also another problem, because this has an impact on farmers' income and food security. We are seeing more and more farmers, as I indicated before, selling through structured markets. It means that they are responding to off-takers' signals by aggregating quality production and getting prices that can compensate for their efforts. Not to the least, the employment opportunities that these actors that we are supporting to be created, SMEs, they are creating sustainable employment opportunities in rural areas by investing in different areas. We hope in the future that they will be looking at, for instance, post-harvest technologies, grading, drying, to improve the quality of the product that has been aggregated, and that will channel back. So the increase in employment opportunities is critical, and this is a signal that these actors continue to invest in their areas. And then the evidence you can see in terms of quantity accumulated for both and seed, with an increasing trend over the years. We see it also in terms of the value of that accumulated or aggregated products. In terms of partnerships, I have mentioned, I'm not going to talk more about, but I wanted to recognize what we call partnerships for catalytic leveraging, which is how to bring the private sector into the agriculture sector, and in particular into our interventions. The main issues, so for instance, with Bayer, we want to recognize them as well. Not just providing inputs, but also capacity building of our VBAs, field officers, of our implementing partners, and so on. At the same time, off-takers that we have been working with, ETG is Abílio Antunes Ecas, Escolha do Povo, and so on, had Novos Horizontes in those different areas that we've been working with. They have been critical, as I said, in creating that market for the aggregated output, while the input and seed companies ensuring that our farmers get quality inputs to respond to that. Very briefly, I will say, if we have to summarize in terms of our contribution, I will say reaching more and more farmers. We shall recognize that 800,000 farmers, probably 1/10 of all the farmers in the country, but let's recognize we are working in three regions. We are doing our best with the resources that we have, but we are glad that more partners are also expanding and scaling some of that work. The seed production that we have produced to date, about 3,000 metric tons, again, very low, but we are glad that production of seed is linked to sales, which means that it's reaching the farmers that we are working with. The increased network of input suppliers, from hub dealers to agro dealers and VBAs, is one of the areas where we have made a great contribution. The 5 blends that we have helped to develop, now we need to scale them in terms of mass production to reach more farmers. As they are crop and site specific, they are more adequate to the farmers we serve. The markets, the structural markets that we have opened up, or we have helped farmers to link with, thanks to the off-takers and input supply, as I mentioned. The policies, the reforming processes and sector coordination that we have supported, and most importantly, and not is the input trade credit guarantee schemes that we are putting in place, all of which are basically to help financial institutions to come in, allow seed companies and input supply, seed companies and off-takers to support the SMEs and the VBAs that we have helped to co-create. I will jump into our lessons learned, what we think that went well. Again, the co-creation of the program interventions that we have. Most of our implementing partners will tell you that it has been a long process to go from design to the proposal and signing, but mostly because we wanted that everybody be part of what we agreed to implement. And that has been a key factor in the consortia work, in terms of what the consortia are, what they believe in, what they are bringing in at the table, and how we go about it. The continuous dialogue and alignment with, particularly with government and other partners, is critical to avoid duplications. Here we mention about the PACES, an example where our VBAs are being absorbed by the PACES. PACES are emerging agriculture farmers from the government program Sustenta. It's important. The continuous engagement with financial institutions to continue developing these adequate financial products for the type of actors that we have. Of course, de-risking is important for them to be engaged this, and the flexibility to adapt in terms of portfolio was also critical. We are pinpointing some of the aspects on what did not probably go as well. We have been in the, let's say, almost at the end of our program with the new government changes in priorities, and have also affected our portfolio and state capability. We call it the difficulties that happened in terms of insecurity in the country. The issues of the debt scandal have all affected our ability to resource mobilize, mobilize resources to increment our activities. We recognize that adoption of technology takes time. At least this has been addressed in terms of 5 years may not be enough, but we need to expand the implementation time and the other two aspects, staffing and consortia coordination were some of the challenges that were imposed on us, but we had to be flexible in terms of addressing them. I will stop there and then appreciate your attention and thank you very much. Back to you. Now, I think I will ask that we move on to question and answers, clarifications. You have the chat to do so if you feel so, but if you want to intervene, raise your hand and we can move into the next section. Thank you.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you for this presentation. And this is Anabela Manissa, and to everyone, I would like to invite you to place questions, as Paulo said. Instead of using the chat, please use the Q&A, question and answers, for response. Paulo, we already have a question there, which was responded by Bem-vindo. So please, we have 5 minutes for questions and answers. Go ahead, whoever has. Are you hearing me well, everyone?
I can hear you, Anabela.
We can hear you, Anabela.
Thank you very much. We have a question which was answered and a comment from Rafael Wayane in the Q&A. Paulo, if you click the Q&A, we have a question from Praveen. Which are the 5 blends?
Yes, it will be good to maybe this be answered by one of our partners if you're there. But the 5 blends, what we know, the 3 of them are for maize and 2 are for soybeans. And all of them were developed for the Nacala corridor. And then again, as I mentioned, this is some of the work that need to be scaled up to other regions, because the primary goal here was to work against the blank fertilizer recommendations, whereby the whole country, despite the diversity of soils in the country, the common fertilizer composition is always, I think it's 12, 20 something, 12 from Ponta do Ouro to Lipiliche in the north. This does not make sense, does not help farmers. Actually, it encourages farmers from adopting fertilizer. If fertilizers are not effective to what they need in their regions, they cannot invest in it. So we tried to contribute to that by helping, by doing the soil mapping in the Beira corridor for now, and working with the partners to develop these 5 blends, 3 of which are for maize, and the other one, the 2 are for soya. Bem-vindo.
Thank you, Paulo. I see a comment from Bem-vindo. He says that on next panelists, we will be hearing about this blends, which will be more specific. Thank you, Paulo, for your response. And if we don't have any further questions, I would suggest to move to the next session. Unless
there is a question, Anabela, from Patrick. well, like Benvindo to address it. Can you provide a little more details on the inclusive grant facility that was provided to the SME agro dealers? Benvindo, are you there?
Yes, Paulo, and good morning for everyone on the call.
Benvindo, please.
Yes, on inclusive finance, I think from the presentation that Paulo has made, most of the agro dealers and the SME, they face really these challenges of finance accessibility to enable their stock inputs and be able to sell to smallholder farmers. So on inclusive finance, what you have put in place is a guarantee fund together with one of our implementing partner, that is GAPI. And that includes, that guarantee fund is used for the hub agro dealers or wholesalers to provide inputs on credit to agro dealers. And there is a risk sharing for the credit inputs that are provided to those agro dealers. And further to that, we have also placed another small guarantee fund that enables VBAs access inputs from those agro dealers and be able to sell directly to smallholder farmers. So we actually have signed 3 agreements with a wholesaler, which is Casa da Agricultor. We also signed 2 other agreements with CD companies, the Clean Caru and the Companhia Dezembe. And probably we will be signing other agreements with a fertilizer company, so that we are not only pushing for seed, but our aim is to push the package at its all of inputs. Hope that has provided some clarifications on. Thank you.
Thank you, Benvindo. Yes, and Praveen Shapan has also placed a question on the NPK related to the plans. Can you please also provide information on this? Thank you.
Okay, in relation to fertilizer blends, we know that our soils have problems of its fertility and the nutrient content. So we ran some trials, and from there, prior to the trials, we also did some soil analysis to understand what are some of the basic problems that the soils suffer. So the blends that we developed, they are NPK content plus some of the micronutrients like zinc and boron. And as I said, I think some detailed and specific indication of the blends we will be having with the, I think it's one of the presentations that we have coming. And this was developed specifically for the Beira corridor. And now we have them available. What we are now looking forward is to bring the private sector and even the public sector to disseminate this fertilizer so that they can go to smallholder farmers. Thank you. Over to you, Annabella.
Thank you, Benvindo. Thank you, Benvindo. Dear participants, due to the time, I see we still have one question, which I believe will be tackled or responded during the next session, because we'll be having the consortia presenting. If you agree with me, and as I'm moderating, let me introduce myself. Annabella Maniz is my name. We are moving to the next section, which has to do with our implementing partners, because AGRA can't do anything without implementing partners doing it in the field. We'll be presenting and sharing on contributions that AGRA had from their side and their point of view. For this, with your permission, I would like to inform that we will be having in this session, this discussion session, panelists from Ministry of Agriculture represented the governments who are being supported on state capability and policy reforms. We have at the system level interventions that are being implemented, and we'll be having consortium leaders and some consortium members that are implementing the activities. The private-public partnership leaders that have been implementing what Paulo just presented, sharing their views on our interventions. And then to end the session, we will be having some testimonies from the private sector. With this said, I would like to invite Mrs. Anina Manganyela, who will be representing the government. Mr. Jaime Chesico, thank you. Anina Manganyela is representing the director, Amilcar Pereira, the National Director for Planning and Policy, who is attending a planning cropping season meeting with the Minister of Agriculture and all state secretary here in Maputo. Anina, please, the floor is yours. If you are there, the floor is yours, and you have 10 minutes. Over. Anina? It seems that Anina is not, okay. Anina, can you center yourself? We don't see you. Anina, can you hear? Thank you. Please go ahead. Switch on your mic, we don't hear you. Anina Manganyela, can you please switch on your mic? We don't hear you, we can't hear you.
Maybe increase the volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning to everyone. I first want to thank AGRA for organizing this meeting. And I'm Anina Trifina Manganyel. I work at the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development at the Directorate of Planning and Policy. And I will be presenting on behalf of Director Amilcar Pereira, who cannot be attending the meeting because he has joined the minister to another meeting at that is running now by the City of Maputo Permanent Secretary. So I will be presenting on his behalf. So we are going to share about the projects that we are running with support to AGRA. Unfortunately, my presentation is in Portuguese. I don't know if I present it in Portuguese or in English. It depends on you.
Anina, because the presentation is in Portuguese, can you please speak in English so that colleagues, thank you, thank you.
I'll try. Okay, we are going to present on AGRA support on projects within the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. And we are also going to talk about PEDSA. It's a strategic plan for agricultural development. The reforms that are being undertaken here at MAZA, at Model, the flagship program and the way forward. So AGRA is supporting the government of Mozambique through the Ministry of Agriculture to strengthen the state capability to perform agricultural policies reforms and also to contribute on the agricultural development sector. This is the structure of the CCSA. CCSA, it's Council of Agricultural Sector. We have it here at Mader. We have the president at this level, and we also have the plenary for this structure of CCSA, but also have the technical members that are included, with the aim of coordinating the implementation of the agricultural development plan, strategic plan, and as well as of the NIP, which is the National Development of the Investment Plan. We have also the Secretariat, and we also have the Steering Committee Technical Group. This is at central level. When we go to the provincial level structure, we also have a kind of similar structure, as I mentioned for the central level, but we have it at the provincial, where we have the Directorate of Agriculture and the Fishery province structure, and we also have the Secretariat for the provincial level structure of agriculture and the fishery. Those are the ones who are chairing at the provincial level. But also the composition of the CCSA is, as we know, is a multi-sectoral stakeholder kind, where we have the public sector representatives, we have the private sector, academy, research institutions, also the developmental partners institutions, as well as the financial institutions. So this structure is at provincial level, and we also have the same structure but at the districtal level, where the chairing is the agriculture and the fishery district directorate. So moving to what this CCSA does, you have that it has the duty of doing the revision of the policies, agricultural policy documents, reviewing and also formulating or reformulating, and also is the one who is in charge to promote the implementation of those instruments, and also does the reporting progress to the ministry if it's at minister level, or to the provincial level or district level, they have the same competence in respective level, in their respective level, and also promoting the accountability for the implementation of their activities. Also, they have to be the resource structure to give some assessment, to conduct assessment, and also suggest some solutions for some problems that may be encountered during the process of designing or implementing policies. They also does the gathering of the information, analyzing them, and also disseminate the information to support the agricultural sector in a different structure, but also to support the activities of training, sharing experiences, and also advocate the agricultural development sector at all levels, central, provincial, and district level. It is also their duty to mobilize funds to perform these activities, as well as to respond to many other activities that may be ongoing at the agricultural sector. Now coming to the progress with the implementation of the SSA activities, we have that we now have the manual that is talking about the procedures of this functioning of this structure. We also have they have also produced the decree, the proposal decree that is going to be submitted to His Excellency, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. There is also some progress in registering this committee of and also there is the degree proposal that is going to be presented to the Madeira cabinet, and also we have the proposal that is going to be submitted to the Secretary Permanent of Madeira, and also to the Deputy Minister of Madeira. And then after this is done, it is going to be submitted to the Council of Ministers of the Government of Mozambique. At this stage, we are in the process of reformulating the agricultural setup proposal, reformulating the PEDSA 2, which is the agricultural strategic plan that is going to be from this current year of 2021 until 2030. And we are also reformulating the NIP for the next 5 years, starting from this year, 2021, until 2025. The objectives is to promote and accelerate the agricultural sector through a competitive, inclusive, and also sustainable in a sustainable manner, so that it can ensure the main engagement of inclusive actors of agricultural sector, including the private sector, and also to contribute to improve food security and nutrition, to promote jobs, and to enforce or to enforce an enabling environment to manage natural disasters, and also to reduce poverty in Mozambique. So the pillars of the strategic plan of agricultural sector development, there are 8. Well, the first one is agricultural productivity and competitivity. And the second is agrarian markets. The third one is infrastructure, agrarian infrastructure. The fourth one is food and nutrition security. The fifth is natural resource management. And we have the following one, agrarian institutions, and followed by gender and youth engagement and equity. And the last one is disasters and climate change. We have also areas of impact where we have inclusive and sustainable agricultural sector growth. We have also the promotion of jobs in agricultural sector, and also food security, and to reduce to half or to 40% the poverty. What is the progress done so far under the PEDS and PNISA? We have already conducted the public consultation at provincial levels, and also there is a draft of the PEDS finalized it, and we, as I said, we did the consultation, so it was shared and discussed. And also after that, we harmonized it and upgraded the document, and it was also discussed and shared at provincial consultation meetings. For now, we are starting designing the NIPE draft. So we are in the process of reformulating it. Talking about the policy reforms, agricultural policy reforms, this is another project that is being supported by AGRA. So here we have a component one, which is fertilizers. We have some progress that we can share, which is the development of the 5 blenders of fertilizer. 3 we used for maize and 2 for soja bean at different agroecological conditions along the Beira corridors. And also we are doing this in a partnership with the University of Eduardo Mondlane. And we have some recommendation that on this on fertilizer project. So the second component is the strategic plan of rural finance document that you have also designed. We did also a consultation, two consultation, public consultations. The first one was in the process of the design of the diagnostic of rural finance in Mozambique. We did the consultation in the 3 regions of the country, and also a first draft was finalized, and we also discussed it and presented it at the regional meetings, and we got contributions that is allowing us to prepare the second version of the Rural Finance Strategic Plan. Under rural extension, we've been trying to change the focus of the course. First, it was supposed to focus on the ITC, but due to change on government priorities, now we are focusing to design the national policy for agricultural, smallholder agricultural assistance and strategy of implementation. But it is still on the very preliminary phase, where we are now trying to finalize the hiring of the consultant to produce this document. But once that is done, it will go smoothly. The objective is to improve the extension, rural extension service in Mozambique, that will be focusing on smallholder farmers of the major part of Mozambique that are engaged in agriculture. The other program that is ongoing with the support of AGRA at Madeira is the flagship program. On flagship program, we have the implementation of the financing resource mobilization, that we have already done that. And also here we have talked about the strategic plan for agricultural development, which is PEDSA, and also the National Investment Plan, the PNISA. We have already talked about this. We now can talk about the program, because we first talk about the pillars, but now we are focusing on the programs. We have the equity and gender program, and also the youth and the value chain for agricultural sector involving the youth. So what is the following phase that are we going to present here is that we are in the stage of concluding the formulation of the PEDSA, and then we have started formulating the PNISA too. And this will be the instrument that will guide the development of agriculture sector in Mozambique from the next 10 years with PEDSA, and the implementation will be through PNISA with two phases. The first one is the first 5 years, and then the following 5 years. We'll also have to validate these documents, but as I mentioned before, we have done the public consultations at provincial levels, with all the stakeholders, the main stakeholders involved, including the private sector, AGRA, and now we are in the phase we are aiming to approve some documents regarding to the CCSR at the ministerial level, and then it will proceed to the Cabinet Council of Ministers of the government of Mozambique. Thank you so much for listening to what we have to share this morning. Thank you. Asante sana. Kanimamu.
Thank you very much, Anina, for this presentation. I would like to invite all participants to place questions, put questions in the Q&A. The Q&A, you'll find it below the screen, just after where you have the participants, there is a Q&A. If you place your questions there, you will be able to have your responses directly through the question, or just like we did in the first session, being responded. As we have questions and answers for the end of this session, I'm inviting now the second panelist, Mr. Abdul. Abdul is the leader of the consortium. Abdul Kawiyu is the leader of the consortium, which was operating at northern area, Nakala Corridor, but he will be doing this presentation on behalf of all the consortia that have been operating in Mozambique. Abdul, the floor is yours. Please take care of the timing. You have 10 minutes and go ahead. Over.
Thank you very much, Annabella. Good morning, everyone. I will start by sharing my screen. I assume it's visible.
Yes, it is. If you can put it in presentation mode, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to put it from the beginning. Is it in presentation mode now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. As Annabella said, my name is Abdul Kawiyu, and I will be presenting not only on behalf of Otumiha project, which was the consortium in the Nakala corridor, but also on behalf of all consortia that implemented at system level, I mean the AGRA projects in the regions. So what I'm going to do today is not presenting all the results that we achieved, but rather presenting the extension delivery model, I mean the consortium delivery model, which is the strategy we use to present the activities at beneficiary level. So the presentation has the following structure. This is the flow of the presentation. I'll start from the consortium structure and end with the scalability and sustainability of what we have been doing. But I will briefly also tackle on the main achievements of our Otumiha consortium, and also some lessons as Dr. Paul stated in his presentation. So this was the consortium implementation structure. We had 3 organizations implementing the consortia: AENA on the extension, AGMAC on the input development, and Miruku, the company I represent, on business development services, meaning dealing with the SMEs and also the markets. So all 3 organizations worked towards contributing to the improvement of food security and the income of the farmers and their families in the Nacala corridor. In fact, something that we feel that it made a difference on what we were implementing in the field was the model that we chose to be, let's say, the guide of our intervention. The center of the intervention was the agribusiness SME. Agribusiness SMEs are located in the districts. I'm talking about the aggregators, the processors, aggregators, especially aggregators, but also some agro dealers, because some agro dealers played both roles, inputs and also outputs. So the center of the intervention was the agribusiness as the pull factor for the markets. So the farmers, I mean, all the work downstream to the farmers' input was to respond to the market demand. So in terms of extension, as it was very well also referred by Dr. Paul Moll and even other presenters, we use the VBA model, what we like to call in the Nacala corridor, and I can assume in Mozambique, as the community agribusiness entrepreneur. Why do we call community agribusiness entrepreneur? Because from our understanding, the reality showed that this figure goes beyond the initial role of providing extension services. The community agribusiness entrepreneur, which is also the VBA, is a farmer that is chosen in the community based on a set of criteria. And this farmer not only delivers the extension services, but also he serves as an exit to the output of the farmers. He links the farmers to the markets, but also he's an entry point of inputs. So when we started, we were working just with the VBAs, and each VBAs had to work with between 200 and 250 farmers. What we realized is that due to the the widespread of the farmers in the communities, so we decided to introduce a figure of facilitator. The facilitator worked with 25 farmers. So 10 facilitators linked to one community agribusiness entrepreneur, which makes 250 farmers as overall. So with this VBA model, what we achieved in terms of results. As I said, I'm not going to present all the results because we had so many indicators on seed sold, indicator on fertilizer, but the AGRA presentation has brought the bigger picture on what happened. I will only focus on the market system that we established. I will recall also from the Paul presentation on what we call the market, structured market. Structured market means having farmers producing according to the market demand. Demand in terms of volumes, demands in terms of quality, demand in terms of the type of seeds and everything. So that's why I say that the entry point for this consortium was first of all to see what the market demands. So to start working downstream at farmer level, on the input level, which is at the agro-dealer network, to ensure that everything that we do downstream is to satisfy the market demand. As I said, both in terms of volumes and also in terms of quality. So with the system that we established from the farmer to the market, we had directly worked with almost 240,000 farmers that were linked to 400 community agribusiness entrepreneurs that worked with 78 SMEs. SMEs, just to recall, I'm talking about the small, medium, and large aggregators in the communities, but also processors. And we had off-takers, which are the ones I talk about, the entry point, were located especially in the big cities like Nampula, maybe in some cases in Kelimani. And so in terms of total volume sold, we are talking about 150 metric tons of maize and soy. And it's important to emphasize that we achieved this volume in just 2 full agriculture seasons, because we, when we started the implementation in 2017, it was late November. So we couldn't capture the whole season of 2017. So in terms of amount generated from the sales of this volume, we are talking about almost 33 million US dollars that went straight to the farmers. So we can, unfortunately, we had 10 minutes, we couldn't present, but we have all other consortium also in the panel that will present some success stories, meaning that we could see a difference, because now we have farmers that are buying inputs, they're investing, because they know that if I invest, I can get invest in terms of quality seeds, which are the improved seeds, in terms of also the chemicals, pesticides, and fertilizers, but also the land preparation using tractors and so forth. They know that this investment, when it's done, it improves my productivity, and also consequently my income. One key instrument that we used to, let's say, to convince farmers in taking their decision in terms of investment is something that we call production plan. Production plan is a very summarized tool, very easy, very friendly to farmers. It's not so complicated to use, but that instrument was key in showing the different scenarios to farmers. It's a kind of cost and benefit analysis, but very, very basic and easy to understand, as I said, where we have costs in one side, and farmers know that if I invest this level, this will be the level of yields, and this will be my productivity, and this will be my income, so that they can take the decision if they invest or not, and if they invest, what are the pains and gains of this of the venture. So what worked well in general, and what didn't work well? I could present so many items, but I focused these 4. I think that one of the success factors of this consortium, and maybe the others, for the Nacala corridor especially, is that the intervention was market anchored. So by being market anchored, we could work, as I said before, downstream to make sure that we satisfy the market. So farmers where producing, knowing where they are going to sell. And this is a very differentiating factor to farmers. So the other issue that we think that in this consortium worked well is that we built the consortium based on the core competencies of each consortium member. AENA is very well specialized in terms of extension delivery. AGMAC has, I mean, very relevant experience in agro-dealer development. Miruk also has relevant experience in market development and so forth. So the other thing that we feel it contributed for this success is the engagement of government in the project activities. So we made clear since the project inception, since the beginning, since the kickoff of the project, that what we are doing, it's not an AGRA work. We are complementing the government work, I mean, through the PEDSA and PNISA initiative. So at certain level, we engaged some 5 districts. We were implementing the project in 10 districts of the Nakala corridor. Nakala corridor, I'm talking about Nampula, Niassa, and part of Niassa, just 2 districts, and also 2 districts of Zambezia. So we had an MOU direct to 5 districts. And we had the districts implementing the project model. And this not only helped the government to absorb what we were doing, but it also helped also in terms of sustainability, because governments now can scale up what we are doing, can take it to other level. The other issue that we think that it's key, I mean, worked well in this consortium, is the sustainability issue. Having the system, having the consortium model working based on the market, it brings sustainability as a natural factor, because the relationships established, remember, from farmer to VBA, from VBA to SME, and SME to larger buyers, this is based on business relationships. So this kind of relationships lasts even after the project intervention ceases. So this is something that we think it worked well. What did not work well? As I said briefly, we had a very limited time to consolidate the model. We just worked 2 years, 2 full seasons, 3 years. We think that such projects, models like this, that we need to ensure that it reaches more farmers, we consolidate. I think 2 seasons, it's not enough. So as I said, also we started late November, so we didn't capture the full season of the first year. And in terms of human resources, also we had this shortage. We had only one field, one extension worker in each district, so he was covering 40 VBAs. That's very, very high, assuming that ratio is very high, assuming especially that we have farmers very widespread in the community. Okay, also it's important to say that we had a matching grant of almost $150,000 US to help the SMEs, especially on not on working capital, but for investments, warehouse improvements, trucks. But we didn't. It was really difficult in leveraging from financial institutions, especially from, I mean, for working capital things. That's why I know that AGRA is doing something on inclusive finance in the Beira corridor. Hopefully, it will come also to Nakala corridor, but this is something that needs to be improved in the future. Also, we have been doing something based on the experience we have on gender, the gender inclusion, and also the youth. But I think we need to reinforce our gender strategy, especially I'm saying even at AGRA level, because if AGRA has a clear AGRA gender strategy and also youth engagement strategy, this can also be cascaded to the implementers level. So the presentation is not moving. Hello?
Hello? Yes, it's not moving.
Yeah, I'm trying to move to the next slide. So it's, let me use the arrows down here. Okay. How do we scale and sustain these interventions? So our understanding as implementing partners who worked in the ground is that one of the things that we need to do in the future is to ensure that the VBAs are integrated in the regular public extension model. That's why we worked with 5 out of the 10 DICE directly to work, to test the model with them, to engage them directly, to ensure that this system that we created, it will not collapse after the project ending, to ensure that there's a continuity. So, and we did this work with these 5, and we think that it will continue. So the other thing is that they need to be formalized. What we did with the government, we have certified the community agribusiness entrepreneurs in our region. But I think that this is something that AGRA has also to think as a broader program in the future. How do we certify them and we graduate? So the other thing that I think needs to be done in the future to consolidate this model, we need to reinforce the linkage of state companies or input providers with the community agribusiness entrepreneurs. Because the output side, it worked very well. But the input side, it showed that it was at the initial stage. This is something that we need to reinforce in the future. So because the issue of the small packs, for instance, that was being told by Dr. Paul, it depends on these linkages also. So the community agribusiness entrepreneurs and the SMEs have business linkages. But the business linkages are like a gentleman agreement. There's nothing in writing yet. This is something that we need to work on in the future. We know there are challenges because this will ensure the increased accountability and transparency. One thing that I think that it's important for us to scale in the sustain the interventions is to ensure that there's blended value chain finance mechanisms to be established with AGRA support to ensure that SMEs have access especially to working capitals. As investments we did something with investments in this project. So I end here and thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdul. Thank you for this presentation. I would invite those who have already presented to look at the chart, or not really the chart, the question and answer. We have there some answers. You can respond, but please pay attention that you will be invited to address them for the benefit of everyone participating in this meeting. I would like to Abdul, can you please share your presentation to
Yes.
enable the next presenter to come in? And our next panelist will be Carlos Campbell. Carlos Campbell is based in the IIM Regional Center. He's the head of this research institute, and he will be sharing with us the partnerships, public-private partnerships with more details. Carlos Campbell, can you please connect your video? We all want to see you and start your presentation if you're there. Hello, Carlos.
Hi, good afternoon. Oh, yes, I can. Can you see me?
Yes, hardly.
Okay. All right. Now I think I have to just a little bit. Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting us to present our work in 2 consortiums. I'll try to share my screen. Can you see it?
Not yet. Yes, we can see
Is that
now.
in presentation mode? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I just, I did my presentation in Portuguese, but I'm trying to do a quick translation in short period of time. So I'm going to see the strengthening of seed value chain and fertilizer within Beira and Zambezi Valley. This is outline of the presentation for both seed consortium and fertilizer consortium. Or in terms of seed consortium, what we try to address in that consortium, that project, the lack of availability of early generation seeds and the weakness of quality control or quality assurance for seed and storage facilities, and the lack of information dissemination within all different varieties that have been developed by IIM, and the low productivity of maize and soybean. Let's say that we're working in only 2 value chains, of maize and soybean. The goal for this project was to increase the availability of seed, a new improved variety seed within 2 crops, soybean and maize. We try to increase availability of those seeds within seed companies in that corridor, Beira corridor in Zambezi Valley. This is the expected result for those 3 years of implementation project. We worked on OPV maize. We expect to produce 2 tons of OPV maize, hybrids 4 tons, and soybean 614 tons of soybean. And we also promoted the new varieties ZM309, ZM523, and 2 hybrids, which is SP1 and Molokwe, and also soybean TGS8F and the TG Shish. Also, we promoted yellow maize, which is Gema, and the new varieties, new hybrid variety that have been launched in 2016, 2017, which is IM 1001, IM 1002, and IM 1003. And also linking with agro dealers, VBAS, and the grain off-takers. This flow of intervention, as NARS, our responsibility in this project was to produce foundations, pre-basic and the breeding seeds. And also for the foundation seed, we're under responsibility of Orwera. Orwera is a seed company based in Nampula. And the Companhia de Zambes, Sementes da Pera, and the Emilia Comercial was responsible for producing certified seed within this project for these two crops. Also, we are linked with ISPM as in charge for extension, and AgriMilk ADEM, we're in charge for agro-dealer linkages and the off-takers. Also, we were connected to ADEM consortium, which is Gugulisa. We are in charge for the linking to off-takers and large buyers. Also, we also plan to link with some farmers associations and large off-takers that, for instance, Abilantunish, some off-takers like DECA, ETGs, and Shkola Depot, and so on and so forth. Hello? I think it's frozen.
Yeah.
Okay, the result that we achieved so far in terms of producing pre-basic seeds under responsibility of IAM, we had the target for the project was 3.2 tons of pre-basic seed in these different categories. I mean, different types of seeds, for OPVs and the different parental lines for hybrids and soybean. And we produced 4.9 tons of pre-basic seed that we made available for seed companies. Orwera, for instance, they managed to produce 427 tons of basic seeds that are made available for the rest of seed companies within consortium or even outside of consortium. A certified seed for the companies produce for these companies are managed to produce at least 2,000 tons of certified seeds within 3 years of implementation. Most of the certified seed were made by Companhia de Zembe, which had a contribution of 1,546 tons of certified seed of these 3 different type of seeds, OPVs, certified hybrids, and the soybean. Which lesson we have learned? We learned the lesson where the direct involvement of NARS, such as IAM, into the consortium, which facilitate the availability of early generation seed into the system. We had also memorandum of understanding with sister project SEMIAR, which is USAID funded project, in terms of made available of soybean basic seeds. We also learned that some of the seed companies has their own outlets of seed distributions. And also we learned lesson on in terms of the collaboration within different partners in this consortium, in terms of made available of their plots for basic seed production. I mean, we are talking about plots with irrigation system facilities. And also these plots were made under supervision of our breeders. Also the engagement of government entities like SDIs or extension services. And also some of these companies also had investment into promotion of their seeds. Also, we learned that the company need to invest into seed maintenance of special for the basic seeds, and they try to improve or try to promote to improve new varieties. For instance, we had interest of Companhia de Zembe in terms of introducing its own line of research for new varieties. We are trying to negotiate with them in terms of the development of their new varieties, which should be good for the seed system. What we can be replicated. Some seed company has already technical backstopping and infrastructure for producing basic seeds. alleviate a lot in terms of basic seed production. And also IM can use some of these plots within the companies to make available to produce basic seeds and pre-basic seeds locally. For instance, we are working closely with Compagnia Dizembe or Orwera and Zarapera in terms of producing pre-basic seeds and basic seeds to make it available closer to the beneficiaries. Some suggestion for the system, we need to have more investment. The seed company need to invest more in terms of marketing their products with emphasis of demos. The seed companies also need to pay attention more into the farmers rather than pay more attention into AgriDeal for the promotion of their product. This is an example of flyer that we developed with Zarapera to promote ZM 309 for as a mean of marketing. We did also training, and we did some training on outgrowers of seed companies. For instance, we did training on outgrowers that are working with Orwera in Ampula, and we managed to reach over 79,000 farmers throughout different regions that we are implementing in our initiative. This is some of the information on the importance of collaboration closely with seed companies and the farmers. For instance, we have some colleagues of us like Shauki working with Ms. Elizabeth from Zarapera and working with Mr. Kevin from Phoenix Seeds. Although Phoenix Seeds are not part of this consortium, but we are working with them in terms of to build capacity to them to produce basic seeds in better way, and also some pictures of intervention in Compagnia Dizembe. Challenges and mitigation measures. So at certain point, we had challenge of, especially for the first year, we didn't have enough stock seed, foundation seed in stock, but we relied on CIMIT and Feed the Future Semiar to provide some of these varieties for soybean and maize, especially for parental line for maize. And isolation for within our research station within IIM. So we use some plots from the seed companies to tackle that problem. And also within these first years of implementation, we had a challenge of not having basic seed of soybean. So as I said, we used the first 2 years soybean from basic seed from the Semiar project. And also we invest in training one of our colleagues who did his MSc in breeding program of common bean breeding program. Then you were trained to do some breeding program of soybean in Zambia in collaboration with IATA in Zambia. Let's move to fertilizer. The contest of fertilizer project consortium, where we found out that over 3.8% of farmers are using fertilizer, and most of fertilizers that have been used are NPK 12-24-12 and urea, which is not good for the entire country. And also we never had blend developed under taking into account soil responses and soil mapping and soil testing, and also macronutrient and micronutrient in micronutrient can double the yield of maize. So in the past, we have several programs funded by AGRA, which is SHP from 2009, 2010, and where the objective were promoting the utilization of of fertilizer in the soil health. So in that time, they reached over more or less 9,000 farmers. For this consortium, what have been done? Universidad Eduardo Mondlane was in charge to synthesize the information on soil. IAM was in charge to do soil sampling and soil mapping in different areas where we worked within Beira Corridor and Zambezi Valley, and also UM and IAM was in charge for development of blends that were produced by two different fertilizer companies such as Yara and Moss Fertilizer. And also we did validation in terms of multi-local trial with involvement of also with these two fertilizer companies, Yara and Moss Fertilizer. And quality control were done by Dina. Now I think Dina is now the new, it's the former Direção Nacional de Agricultura e Segurança e Silvicultura, but now it's under National Directorate of Biosecurity, I think the new name of the institution that's in charge for quality control. The objective of this fertilizer consortium was to improve soil health and to develop and validation the new blends adapted to local context, development of soil map, and promotion of new blends, and also quality control, and also new regulation for new blend that have been already developed. Methodology was the first to do soil mapping, soil analysis, and also a trial into confined facilities. In this case, we did trial in our facilities at Susundenga Research Station, and where they used some macronutrients and some micronutrients, for instance, zinc, manganese, and iron. Also, we did the formulation blends, and for instance, there were 7 formulations that were submitted for trial. And also we had discussion with fertilizer companies like Yara Fertilizer and Moss Fertilizer, and also it was included in this trial. Also, we did a validation trial, and we had 54 trial in cropping season 2018-2019. And also we did discussion with all partners during the validation process. Also, we did involve the farmers during the validation process. This is the blend that we managed to achieve. For maize, we did three blends with this composition. I don't know if you can see it clearly. This here, it is the first blend, which has 29N10P and so on and so forth. The other one is this one, and the other one is with the 24 nitrogen, 21 phosphorus, and 5 key and 5 in short, I don't know what the name in English. Well, For soybean, we managed to submit two blends, which is with the composition that stated here in this slide. This is example of label that were of the blend that was submitted to the Ministry of Agriculture. This one, and as I said before, we submitted 5 blends, 3 for maize, 2 for soybean, and also we did a demonstration trial during throughout Beta Corridor. And we had now one agro dealer interested to marketing these blends, and also lobbies are being made with Sustenta in order to put it into Sustenta initiative. These new blends. Lessons learned were PPP was crucial for this consortium. The result that obtained here can be also probably used in other corridor as well. For instance, Nakala corridor, and also with the similar soil conditions, and also the new blends can be also used within extension service and the private sector. The involvement of AGRA was critical for the formation of the consortium. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Campbell, for this presentation. We'll continue. Well, can you please unshare your presentation, please? Meanwhile, I will continue to invite all participants to put their questions in the Q&A. And we are asking to have the questions there for statistics purpose and follow-up responses. If we are not able to respond all of them here, the questions will be read for the benefit of all participants. Thank you once again, and we will proceed with the presentation with the provincial government level. We have the central level. We have our implementing partners at the provincial level and regions. We are now honored to have the Director for Industry and Commerce from Manica, who will share with us her views on AGRA's contribution. Madame Maria da Assunção Fernandes, you are invited to participate and to intervene now. While Director Maria Fernandes is connecting, I would like to take this opportunity to inform everyone that we do have translation for Portuguese and English. You just click at the down right corner of your screen. There is a globe, which is written interpretations. Please click there, choose the language, and enjoy this webinar. Thank you, and please go ahead, Maria de Assunção, over to you.
Muito boa tarde, chamo-me Maria de Assunção Rogério Fernandes, sou diretora da Indústria e Comércio de Manica. Quero agradecer pelo convite a este webinário. O meu tema é complementaridade na abordagem da extensão ligada ao mercado e desenvolvimento local. Dizer que das tantas atribuições competentes à Direção Provincial da Indústria e Comércio, uma delas é a monitoria da comercialização agrícola, cujo objetivo é absorver o excedente produzido através da venda para evitar perdas e posterior desmoralização no aumento da produção, porque quem produz é óbvio que quer vender. Então, nós temos a atribuição de monitorar a comercialização agrícola. Nesta atividade, temos trabalhado em parceria com a ADEMO, Agência de Desenvolvimento de Manica. Neste processo de monitoria de comercialização agrícola, foi introduzida a caderneta de comercialização agrícola, que é um documento emitido pelos serviços distritais de atividades econômicas para intervenientes de comercialização agrícola. Esta caderneta é tão importante na medida em que cadastra o agente econômico, faz o registro estatístico da comercialização agrícola, organiza o processo da comercialização agrícola. Neste contexto, passo a partilhar ações que temos realizado com a Agência de Desenvolvimento de Manica no âmbito de absorção de excedente. Dizer que já está consolidado o sistema de feiras de comercialização agrícola periodicamente em todos os distritos. Isso quer dizer, mensalmente, todos os distritos fazem feira de comercialização agrícola. É uma forma de expor os produtos e é aí onde também consegue-se saber qual é o distrito, qual é o produto que o distrito tem, qual é a quantidade que o distrito produz. Também intermediação de mercados, de ligação do mercado, intermediação da ligação do mercado, onde a ADEMO, através do produtor, contacta a grandes superfícies, as indústrias, informando que aquele produtor tem produto para poder abastecer o mercado. Também temos promovido a realização de reuniões de comercialização agrícola a nível provincial, distrital, envolvendo todos os intervenientes de cadeia de produção, de comercialização. Têm sido reuniões muito importantes, porque nestas reuniões conseguimos albergar os técnicos dos CIDAIs, alguns agentes econômicos e a província. Temos promovido ações de parceria para assegurar o escoamento de produtos agrícolas. A ADEMO, através dos seus VBAS, compram produtos e vendem para as indústrias. Também ajudaram bastante a construir armazéns para poder agregar produtos. Também foram promovidas ações de trocas de experiência dentro e fora do país. Tivemos um técnico que foi trocar experiência em Ruanda, através da ADEMO. Está sendo muito, muito importante na partilha da experiência daquilo que aprendeu em Ruanda. Também temos monitorado o processo de comercialização agrícola em todos os distritos da província de Manica, com destaque nos distritos de Gondola, Macate, Sussundenga, Vanduzi, Manica e Baro. Divulgadas oportunidades de compra e venda de produtos agrícolas na província através do projeto Cuguliça. Dizer que este projeto é uma mais-valia na troca de informações, visto que é através desta informação que se sabe quem tem um determinado produto. Por exemplo, vamos dizer que em Penhalonga tem uma quantidade de milho e quer vender. E é a partir daí que também criamos aquele intercâmbio. O agente econômico dirige-se e vai com conhecimento e certeza que vai levar o produto com um determinado preço e quantidade. Também temos, também como atividades, realizamos várias capacitações para as pequenas e médias empresas, associações, assim como cooperativas, em matéria de agronegócio, como forma de dotá-los de capacidade de negociação nos distritos. Os distritos que foram contemplados as capacitações foram Gondola, Makati, Sussunenga, Vanduzi e Baro. Também tem-se realizado planificação mensal conjunta com os distritos, que até o momento foram os distritos de Gondola, Makati, Sussunenga, Vanduzi, Manica e Baro. Também conseguimos harmonizar formulário para recolha de informação sobre a comercialização agrícola através dos serviços distritais de atividades econômicas. Este processo é muito importante, porque é a partir deste formulário que temos um só documento, já não há discrepância nos modelos de documentos. Também conseguimos harmonizar base de dados das micros, pequenas, médias empresas envolvidas no processo de comercialização agrícola. Dizer que, de uma forma geral, trabalhar em parceria com a DEMO está sendo muito positivo, visto que hoje temos a dimensão de tudo o que acontece em toda a província, em torno da comercialização agrícola em tempo real, com a introdução da plataforma Kugulisa. Também temos alguns desafios que é para o futuro. Sabemos que a DEMO está aqui e sempre trabalhará conosco. Os desafios que temos são necessidade de alocação de um orçamento para a DPIC, que é para a materialização de atividade de monitoria de comercialização agrícola. Iniciamos bem, então almejamos que continuemos de modo que alcancemos os objetivos traçados. Também outro desafio, reforço em meios de transporte, com enfoque também em materiais informáticos, computadores e meios circulantes. Também temos necessidade de troca de experiência. Foi boa a ideia de troca de experiência de um técnico, mas seria bom que continuássemos com esta atividade de troca de experiência entre as províncias e países que estão a implementar o programa. Também gostaríamos que houvesse abrangência do projeto Kugulisa para todos os distritos da província. Muito obrigada, Moitabassa. Thank you.
Muito obrigada, diretora, por partilhar com todos nós aquilo que são as ações que estão em curso. Muito obrigada mesmo. Dear attendees and panelists, we do apologize because we are facing delays. The time is really running. But we would like to just ask you for more patience because we are now moving to the moment. Can you put your mic? Manuel Queiroz, thank you. Queiroz. Okay, I'll continue while Queiroz. We invite our panelists, but who are most 55. They are from private sector, and I'll start by Mr. Brain. Mr. Afizal, can you please turn on your mic and your video, and please share with us what you said you want to share with everyone regarding this contribution from AGRA. Mr. Afizal is an off-taker from Angonia. Can you do it in 3 minutes, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, to welcome on this meeting and bring on this meeting. I'm very happy to hear with you, all the guys. Thank you very much. And this is our first year to buy agriculture in Angonia areas. We buy always in Nampula, Nakala, and Mukubas, all those areas, Zambezi province. This is our first time we buy the product from the Angonia and Dome, and all those state province. It was too much some difficulties because of the road or some like this, and too much confusion, middlemen, especially on the commercialization. So many middlemen is there, and the price is not correct, and the farmer not getting the correct price because of the so many middlemen. Our able to farmer must get a good price so they can produce more, and they can be happy on the perfect money they can get, rather than the too much intervention in the site. So that was all the difficulty, and that is and all over the things, it's going to go well. We buy around 10,000 ton all those products, maize and soya beans and pizza and butter beans, Fizon Mantega, Fizon Catarina, all the 3 products we finish now, and we see some seeds. We start also buying from the in the Murumbala area. So that's all look good. We have small difficulty in our company to export because the outside, the overseas, they need the product very clean, 99% clean, especially in sesame and green mungs in Namitili area, and peanuts, also in Namitili and that area, Mukuba peanuts, and all those maize also to export. So we need we get small problem of the cleaning. They all the needs fully cleaning products, so we can get more price, and we can pay more price to farmer if we give them very good quality. That is the one reason, and we can, if we clean the product and we can process the product, we can get more good price, and we can give them good price farmer. That is our question. If we get somewhere funding for the cleaning machine, so we can implement our company, and we can buy more product, and we can approve good price to farmer, and our quality of Mozambique quality can go for the quality wise. We can say the quality is very good, and worldwide in the international market we can achieve the good name because of the quality. That's all things from my side, and thank you very much. The VBA, we work with VBA, and we work with Angonia, all those VBA, Mr. Gideon, Mr. Elion, all those we support very well, and we go to all those Makangas, Gandalis, Furunkungus, the Sanganus, and all those warehouses. We work with VBA group, around 150, 200 farmer, all those, and they support well, and we pay very well. And we took from their products and we pay them there. And it was very good experience, and it went very well. Thank you very much.
Mr. Afizal. Well,
Yes.
you have some challenges that you have been facing, the middleman. I don't know if you are talking about what we call the SMEs. Well, you don't have to respond it now. You maybe come on when we go to the questions and answers. And I'm saying this because of those who are following. You also mentioned roads has problem. You brought here a very important issue, which is the quality, the cleaning of material, the processing adds value. These are key issues that we have to take in mind. And I'm highlighting this for the next participants who will be sharing their testimonies. And I'm moving, thank you, Mr. Afizal. And now I'm inviting Mr. Simon Munakamwe from SIDCO. He's an input supplier. We heard from an off-taker, and now we'll be listening from an input supplier. Mr. Simon, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much. Okay, my name is Simon. I'm country rep for SIDCO, Mozambique. Maybe just to improve my connectivity. Okay, I would like to testify on the work that the projects that have been supported by AGRA in Mozambique, how they've impacted positively on the business development of SIDCO, Mozambique. We are a seed company specializing in hybrid maize, legumes, as well as vegetables. But specifically with AGRA projects, we have been working directly with maize and soybeans. What the projects have done actually have helped us to minimize some challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis as private sector in Mozambique. The first one is actually the project actually increased on our demand creation activities, things like demonstrations, small packs, as well as field days, because the projects, they were coming and doing these activities, and this actually helped us quite a lot. The second one was we registered an increase in accessibility of our seed by the farmers through the agro-dealer network that the projects created and developed. For example, if I just give you numbers, when we started, we had 35 agro-dealers, and with the coming in of the AGRA project in the Beira corridor as well as the Zambezi Valley, we actually got 56 new agro-dealers, which gave us an increase of 160% in terms of agro-dealer networks. Thirdly, the project actually managed to link us direct with farmers. They've been calling us for meetings with farmers, meeting directly, discussing, giving the farmers our product specifications, answering questions and clearing gray areas that farmers had in terms of our varieties. The project actually also increased information dissemination, and this actually gave an increase in awareness of our products as SIDCO, which is very, very positive. The projects actually increased the demand of hybrids as well as cash crops, hybrid maize varieties, as well as the cash crop like soybeans. Now we have got an increase in demand. I'll give you the next point. I'll be able to give you in terms of percentage increase. The projects also helped us to increase and create new market penetration in areas that we were not there. You know, for example, in the Zambezi Valley, I mean, we only managed to get there through the AGRA projects, you know, Kugulisa, which was very, very positive. In terms of for last season that we finished, if I can give you some bit of numbers, our increase in sales contribution just because of the AGRA projects, it was a 5%. It was actually a big contribution, and the 5% in terms of value, it was $225,000 worth of sales, just from the VBAS, the projects directly linked with AGRA. So in terms of positivity, these are the points that as CIDCO we have registered, we have noted, and we have wanted them on record. However, we also noticed that there are some few gaps that needs to be looked into in terms of, in case the project continues, future projects to come, we need to look at and see how best we can improve certain areas that we noted that we still need to do some more work. The first thing is we feel that there's still a gap between elaboration of production plans. When farmers are doing their production plans, what to grow, how many hectares, all those things. I think there's need to be alignment with the off-takers. You know, normally we saw as if off-takers, they only come at the end and some are taken by surprise, you know. So off-takers, we feel they need to be involved at the beginning in terms of production. Like now, farmers are doing production plans, how many hectares, the off-takers also need to be involved and to understand what are their expectations. You know, also this same applies, includes the quality issue. The second point that we also saw that we need to put some effort together is the area of extension and agronomy. So the extension, it's a very important thing. A farmer is there, he goes, he buys quality seed, he buys quality fertilizer, then come to the good agricultural practice, he fails either on planting debt or control of weeds, control of pests and diseases. Then the whole effort of buying quality seed, quality fertilizer is actually is blown out. So we really need to look at to increase in terms of extension and agronomy. There was an issue that we discovered, and we have raised it with some of the projects. The small packs, they're a very good idea. They're a very good method of reaching out, demand creation. However, in these projects, what we have experienced is CIDCO, there was lack of feedback, lack of information from the projects in terms of the impact and the tracking of the small packs. There was a gap in this aspect. Then the last but not least, we feel we also need as partners to look at and work more on business management skills for our VBAs, you know, things like sales forecast, customer care, pricing, debt repayment to the suppliers. You know, we've had issues with VBAs. Yes, they get the seed, they sell. Now to pay back to the suppliers becomes an issue. These are the points that I had. Thank you very much for the invitation and listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon, for your testimony. We could really realize that there were good things that happened, but we also have challenges on what is related to relation extension and farmers, also research, you know, the gaps that you mentioned on feedback on small packs, it's very critical, and also issues on payments. We are taking this in consideration, but with the known of, it's not just AGRA, but it's all implementing partners. I'll move now to, thank you once again, I'll move now to Celia Ribeiro. She's from an SME. Celia, could you please share with us your experience and your testimony on the contribution or your partnering with AGRA during this time? The floor is yours, and please do it in 3 minutes if you can. I know you have a lot to share, but please summarize it. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you to everyone, and thanks to give me this opportunity for sharing my experience with AGRA. But I will speak in Portuguese because I'm more comfortable talking in Portuguese. This is the first time I can talk in Portuguese on AGRA meetings. Ok, eu chamo-me Célia Ribeiro, sou diretora da empresa Lutiar Insumos e...
Continue.
Yes, go ahead.
Dizia que sou diretora da empresa Lutiar Insumos e Serviços Agrícolas Limitada. Nosso objetivo é promover e dinamizar a produção dos pequenos agricultores. Nós estamos baseados com sede em Gondola e trabalhamos nos distritos de Nhamatanda, Gorongosa, em Sofala também. Dizer que estamos a trabalhar com o AGRA desde 2018, mas desde 2016 que vemos beneficiando indiretamente das ações do AGRA no terreno. E aqui quero reforçar o seguinte: o nosso modelo é trabalhar com os VBAs, primeiro para que os agricultores acedam a insumos agrícolas a preços competitivos. Na altura que nós estabelecemos, outros intervenientes com suporte do AGRA estiveram nas zonas onde nós estamos a atuar, e aí nós nos beneficiamos do trabalho destas organizações. Aqui vou dizer da questão da ADEM e também do GIL. Desculpem, esqueço-me do nome da organização do Gil Mucava. Agrimerc.
Pode continuar, por favor.
Ok, da Agrimerc. Então, com base nestes VBAs que encontramos no terreno, começamos a trabalhar e em 2018, 2019, começamos a engajar com o AGRA diretamente. Dizer que o suporte que tivemos com a ADEM foi facilitar com que os VBAs tivessem acesso a recursos financeiros para poderem intermediar na comercialização agrícola. No ano seguinte, porque houve o IDAI, fizemos diretamente parte de um consórcio para a recuperação depois IDAI, onde os agricultores da rede da Lutiar, através dos seus agentes, acederam a insumos agrícolas e também assistência técnica. Isso permitiu que, primeiro, os nossos agentes, que são os VBAs, pudessem ter uma recuperação financeira rápida. Segundo, os agricultores também pudessem ter uma recuperação rápida naquilo que é a sua, não digo completa resiliência, mas uma parte da constituição da resiliência, que foi encontrar os insumos disponíveis perto de si, mas ao mesmo tempo ter a capacidade de poder produzir. Dizer que para algumas zonas foi a primeira vez que tiveram a oportunidade também de produzir soja e incluir na sua dieta alimentar, através da promoção de treinamentos sobre nutrição. Foi possível nesse ano aceder a prover insumos a 6.000 agricultores, de uma rede de 18.000 agricultores que temos, mas o serviço de extensão foi extensivo para os 18.000 agricultores. Para além do consórcio da recuperação pós-IDAI, nós fazemos parte também do Inclusive Finance, que é liderado pelo GAPI. Aqui, nós, como Lutiar, acedemos a recursos para a expansão da rede da Lutiar, mas também para o fortalecimento. Dizer que é muito importante trabalhar com os agentes se eles têm infraestruturas. Se eles não têm infraestruturas, fica difícil. E este suporte do AGRA permitiu que hoje grande parte dos agentes da Lutiar tenham infraestruturas e possam prover o serviço necessário para os agricultores e criar, de certa forma, a resiliência, embora ainda não completamente, mas o facto deles estarem inseridos na comunidade, poderem prover insumos de qualidade, certificados e garantirem assistência técnica através da rede dos extensionistas da Lutiar aos pequenos agricultores e também agregarem toda a produção dos pequenos agricultores a preços justos, ajuda a aumentar a confiança do agricultor para poder investir na produção em campanhas seguintes. Dizer que nos anos anteriores a empresa não conseguia alcançar 1.000 toneladas de produtos agregados. Hoje, por causa da confiança que os agricultores têm com o modelo, nós estamos a ascender a quase 2.000 toneladas agregadas, o que significa que, aos poucos, estamos a constituir aquilo que é e a fortalecer a nossa rede de agricultores. Existe muito mais para compartilhar, mas dizer que nem tudo é um mar de rosa. Existem ainda aquilo que se chamam os challenges, e aqui o que nós queremos dizer é que, embora tenha sido pouco tempo que nós tivemos este suporte, permitiu que a Lutiar hoje estivesse mais visível, pudesse partilhar a sua experiência em diferentes plataformas e também pudesse negociar com outros doadores recursos, atrair mais recursos para poder fortalecer esta rede e beneficiar a mais agricultores. Continuamos a dizer que ainda temos alguns challenges, que é o caso de assistência técnica aos agricultores. Ainda é muito grande o rácio um extensionista para os agricultores, são poucos os agricultores, os extensionistas que temos para o número de agricultores, o que achamos que temos que continuar a trabalhar no sentido de conseguir ainda recursos para continuar a prover esta assistência técnica. O acesso ao financiamento ainda é muito complicado, dizer que os agentes ainda não conseguem aceder a financiamentos, mesmo que tenham sido criados os fundos de garantia. Estes fundos de garantia permitem que empresas como Lutiar possam aceder, mas as empresas como Lutiar, o tamanho do fundo disponível é muito pequeno para aquilo que é a demanda. E para os VBAs ainda está muito longe a distância entre eles e o fundo. Então, acreditamos nós que os próximos passos têm que ser revisitar o que é que são estes fundos, o que é a realidade e ver como é que é possível fazer com que estes fundos realmente sirvam para esta camada, porque, por enquanto, as empresas como Lutiar têm estado a incorrer com muitos riscos e, muitas vezes, a fazer o papel de financiadores. Por último, dizer que há 3 fatores importantes que são chaves. É o conhecimento, a informação e o acesso aos recursos. Estes 3 ingredientes são os fatores chaves, não só para construir a resiliência, mas também para desenvolvimento. Muito obrigada pela oportunidade que me foi dada.
Muito obrigada, Célia. Muito obrigada por partilhar connosco também estes testemunhos. e ficámos felizes de saber que a rotear tornou-se mais visível, aumentou a visibilidade, como assim informou. E esperamos que por esse facto também vocês estejam já na rota de se manterem mais sustentáveis, porque os apoios financeiros vão acontecer até algum tempo. Nós temos também participantes do governo ainda neste encontro, por causa do assunto que trouxe como um dos constrangimentos, que é a assistência técnica aos extensionistas, aos produtores, pelos extensionistas, assim como o acesso a recursos financeiros. O Ministério da Agricultura, na sua apresentação, fez referência à política ou à estratégia de finanças rurais. Eles ainda estão neste encontro, nós, tendo tempo, havemos de continuar esta conversa. E eu passei para português porque foi solicitado que passássemos a português. Muito obrigado, Célia, mais uma vez. Vou passar agora ao outro interveniente, neste caso a senhora Nilza Francisco, que também é uma SMI e, ao mesmo tempo, está na área de processamento. Senhora Nilza Francisco, por favor, o tempo é seu. Partilhe connosco os seus testemunhos e tem 3 minutos para fazê-lo, se faz favor. Muito obrigada.
Muito obrigada. Boa tarde pela oportunidade. Eu gostaria aqui de partilhar a experiência da Imper na parceria com a AGRA através do projeto Mozambique, mas gostaria também de situar onde é que está a Imper. A Imper é uma unidade fabril de processamento de arroz, que está a operar desde 2013 na província da Zambésia e está localizada no distrito de Nicodala, que se situa mais ou menos a 30 km da cidade de Clima.
A senhora Nilza, perdemos-la, não consigo ouvi-la. Não sei se os meus colegas conseguem ouvir.
Não. Não, e provavelmente tenha caído do... ainda está aqui, mas não conseguimos ouvir. Ok.
Não sei se me consegue ouvir.
Agora sim, por favor, pode continuar.
Acho que houve um problema com a internet. Sim, eu estava dizendo que a Imper tem como principais ações o processamento de arroz em casca, a comercialização, assistência técnica, a vários produtores, incluindo 4 cooperativas que se situam nos distritos de Mupeia, Namacurra, Nicoadala e Maganja da Costa. A Imper anteriormente foi propriedade da EOZ, que após falência foi solicitada a GAPI para a revitalização da mesma.
Voltámos a perdê-la, senhora Nilza, provavelmente falasse, ligasse o microfone e desligue a câmera, porque às vezes isso tem um impacto negativo na oscilação da internet. Senhora Nilza, consegue ouvir-nos?
Consigo. Acho que estamos com problemas mesmo da internet aqui.
Ok.
Que ela está sempre a cair.
Ok, pode
Então, gostaria de continuar e dizer que a fábrica, a Imper, é uma fábrica que é fundamental para o desenvolvimento da cadeia de valor do arroz, não só para a província da Zambésia, mas para todo o país. A capacidade inicial de processamento da Imper era de 10 toneladas dia. Essa capacidade atingiu atualmente 20 toneladas dia, com tendências crescentes.
Continuamos a ter problemas com a internet. Senhora Nilza, uma sugestão que lhe apresentamos nós vamos passar para o próximo interveniente e logo que esteja com a internet com a oscilação controlada, nós faremos assim, pode ser? E passo a convidar a senhora Ivódia Guerra, é representante de uma das cooperativas e acredito que ela vai intervir dando sequência ao que a senhora Nilza estava falando. Senhora Ivódia, por favor, pode intervir. Obrigada.
Sim, obrigado. Chamo-me Ivódia Aníbal Antônio Guerra, sou representante da cooperativa Lima Iapa. No âmbito da PRODASAR, foram identificados e treinados agrovilas, VBAS e comerciantes para melhorar o sistema de fornecimento de insumos que era fraco e não só, como também acesso insuficiente de conhecimento de insumos de tecnologia. Com estes atores que foram formados, surge um outro problema, que passou a ser a necessidade de obter melhores preços do mercado. E desta forma, em agosto de 2019, foram formados, esses atores formaram a cooperativa Lima Iapa. Esta, por sua vez, esta cooperativa funciona numa plataforma de gestão e intermediação de produtores e fornecedores de insumos, não só os compradores de excedentes agrícolas. Tipo de intervenção da cooperativa. A cooperativa tem assistido produtores no centro, na elaboração com os especialistas do site, sensibilizando os produtores a usar sementes melhoradas. E também estamos numa fase de experimentar e aperfeiçoar o modelo de fomento da cultura de
Senhora Ivódia.
Sim.
Perdão por interromper. Se desligar a sua câmara, nós teremos muito melhor qualidade do que está a dizer, por favor. Obrigada. Pode continuar. Senhora Ivódia, pode continuar. Senhora Ivódia?
Sim.
Pode continuar, por favor. Pode ligar o seu microfone e continuar. Ótimo, agora é muito melhor. Pode continuar, por favor. Senhora Ivódia, consegue ouvir-me? Senhora Ivódia, consegue ouvir-me? Enquanto a senhora Ivódia... Sim.
Aqui está a ver muito. Estou com problemas.
Eu convido ao representante dos VBAs na Zambésia. Para o fraqueza haitiana. Fraqueza haitiana.
Yeah, probably, I think the challenge will be the same because the VBA and the farmer, they were to use the same computer with the Vodia.
Okay.
Sim, estava a dizer a intervenção da cooperativa
Okay.
de Maia. Assistir produtores nos centros de agronegócio e, em colaboração com as cidades distritais, sensibilizar produtores a usar sementes melhoradas. Nas localidades, cada localidade tem técnicos, então, podemos colaborar. E experimentar e aperfeiçoar o modelo de fomento da cultura, de culturas como milho, feijão e gergelim, com a perspectiva de um futuro assegurar a marca certificação da qualidade. E para insumos, temos de intermediar as ligações das empresas com os agrodealers. Na comercialização, a cooperativa promove a agregação de produtos agrícolas pelos VBAS e facilitam as ligações com compradores locais e compradores distritais. Por exemplo, os compradores oferecem comissão por entregas a grosso. Os VBAs agregam com os produtores, fazem entregas a grosso e os compradores oferecem uma certa comissão, que varia de 1 a 5 meticais. E a ligação que a cooperativa tem tido com o AGRA e o AGRA, em geral, é de facilitar a planificação da campanha agrícola, prestando assistências aos órgãos sociais, facilitando a ligação com parceiros, como o Movimento Nacional das Cooperativas Modernas, facilita a assistência aos VBAs na implementação de extensão agrícola, e neste processo todo temos tido mudanças positivas. Os produtores já optam pelo uso de sementes melhoradas. E um VBA, no mínimo, trabalha com 200 agregados familiares. E a partir do ano 2018 para 2020, houveram melhorias no que se diz respeito a esta componente de comercialização, onde em 2018 os produtores tinham, um VBA tinha em média, fazendo o levantamento de 20 produtores apenas, que conseguiam comprar a semente melhorada. Mas indo para os anos 2019, 2020, cada ano que passa, a venda tem crescido. Os produtores já adquirem as sementes melhoradas. Temos também notado produtores a interessar-se na venda agregada da sua produção. E já existem também empresas interessadas em ligar-se à cooperativa para facilitar o processo de venda de insumos, como, por exemplo, a ETG, a K2 e a Multrem. E temos também algumas lições aprendidas, que é a dificuldade de alocar sementes a tempo ao local onde o produtor se encontra, em vias de acesso, que é de muito sacrifício para poder chegar até lá. E não só, temos fortificado, isso fortificou a ligação entre o agrodealer, VBA e produtores, no envolvimento de planificação da campanha com comerciantes. Muito obrigada.
Muito obrigado, senhora. O representante dos VBAs e o representante dos produtores, eu iria convidá-los, nesta sequência, o VBA primeiro e depois o produtor, a partilharem o testemunho que têm, para que depois fazer alguns comentários e passar para a classe seguinte. Senhora Evódia, ouviu-me?
Sim, sim. Pode repetir.
Ok? O representante dos VBAs, dos produtores. Intervir, por favor.
Estou com um problema de comunicação por causa da tempestade.
Ok. Podemos voltar a senhora Nilza, se ainda estiver em linha, para finalizar. Infelizmente, não podemos ouvir os representantes do VBA e dos produtores, pelas razões que a senhora Ivódia explicou. Senhora Nilza, está ainda em linha, por favor?
Por falar. Até com dificuldade.
Eu chamo-me Gabriel Domingos Banque, sou VBA do regulado de Simbapo. Trabalhei com segurança de agricultores em 2017. Em 2019, também trabalhei com 150 agricultores e aqui trabalho com 200 produtores.
Estamos com dificuldades de ouvir. E estamos realmente com bastante dificuldade de poder ouvir o que está sendo dito. E por essa razão, devido ao tempo também, gostaria de saber se a senhora Nilza está para, em 2 minutos, terminar a sua intervenção. Senhora Ivódia, gostaria de convidá-la a fechar o seu microfone, porque não conseguimos perceber. A Nilza está em linha?
Sim, estou na linha, sim.
Ok, pode continuar. Pode continuar.
Eu chamo-me Gabriel Domingos Banque. Eu sou VBA do regulado de Simbapo. Eu comecei em 2017 com 360 agricultores. Em 2019 também trabalhei com 260 agricultores. Neste momento eu trabalho com 200 produtores. No âmbito do processo, sempre estamos a trabalhar sempre com os nossos agricultores, só que há uma, talvez, na produção, os produtores sempre estão a gostar que nós estamos a trabalhar. Estamos a coordenar entre eu com o VBA e meus agricultores na venda dos produtos. Isso.
Muito obrigado por este testemunho. Nós temos colegas do governo que estão a participar neste encontro e uma das colegas que está a participar tinha colocado por acaso uma questão em relação ao número de produtores que cada VBA pode assistir e agradecemos por esta informação. Está também com um produtor na mesma sala, a senhora Ivódia. Podemos ouvir o representante dos produtores, se faz favor?
Eu sou João Fernando, sou produtor da zona de Iapor, mas por âmbito, por convênio com o projeto que está Obrigado. Estamos a ver que na parte da produção do milho está a sair muito bem. E aquilo aí, quando nós semeamos, está a sair o dobro daquilo que nós produzimos. Até estamos muito satisfeitos e a comunidade em si, em próprio, também está muito satisfeito por ver aquilo que está nos fazer o projeto para a comunidade. E também na parte de hortícolas, que o grupo está vendendo para a comunidade, como nós, produtores, estamos a ver minimizar aquilo que nós não estávamos a ver, já estamos a ver, estamos a notar por coisa, tomate, baixo, couve. É muita coisa já que está a mudar na comunidade, isso estamos muito satisfeitos e gostaríamos de se aumentasse mais outra coisa que na comunidade não existe para acontecer também na comunidade. Obrigado.
Muito obrigado por este testemunho, que reflete que estão a acontecer mudanças a nível da comunidade. Nós fomos ouvindo também, através da intervenção dos outros participantes. Eu acredito que a senhora Nilza vai poder intervir, não a vejo aqui conectada, pode ter tido sérios problemas de internet. Gostaria agora de fazer referência a algumas questões que estão no chat. Nós estamos muito acima, quase a 1 hora acima do tempo. As questões foram colocadas no Question and Answers, que é o Q e A. A maior parte delas foram respondidas. Nós esperávamos que o senhor Afizal pudesse responder à pergunta colocada pela senhora Ercília, que gostaria de ouvir sugestões da parte dele sobre o cenário que ele tem experimentado a nível de base. Ele falou dos middlemen, não é? Dos intermediários e dos produtores. A Ercília sugere que deveria-se beneficiar os produtores. Entretanto, o Queiroz já respondeu. Faisal, would you like to briefly respond to Ercília's question she posted in the question and answer?
Yeah.
Briefly, you have 1 minute to do so.
Ok.
Thank you.
Yeah. Não, pode falar português. Ali no investimento, ali pede comissão, muitas pedem comissão, 1 meticais, 2 meticais para comprar com interveniente. Então, às vezes, e outras coisas que você estava falando intermediário, a pessoa que guarda produto de outra maneira, depois ganha mais que produtor. Lá no Matos, e aproveita esse produto antes de já estar bem feito, já está bem secado, e depois estraga a qualidade para todo lado, para toda a campanha.
Obrigado. Obrigado,
Ok.
Afis. Muito obrigado por esta resposta que dá. E realmente a questão da conservação é crítica. A senhora Licínia, acredito que está satisfeita com a resposta que lhe foi dada pelo senhor Abdul em relação a este assunto, mas eu gostaria de trazer um aspecto que foi levantado por um dos participantes, que tem a ver, que é o senhor Osvaldo, que tem a ver com género e jovens, que o senhor Abdul também adiantou na resposta. Abdul, gostarias de poder de brevemente fazer referência à integração de género, de aspectos de género e juventude nas intervenções nos consórcios, por favor? Over to you.
Sim, Abdul, faz favor.
Muito obrigado. Posso fazer desta vez em português ou tem que ser em inglês?
Português pode ser melhor.
Ok.
E Isal, pode, por favor, desligar a sua câmera só para evitar problemas de oscilação na internet? Obrigada.
Portanto, eu penso que já tinha avançado a questão do gênero. E uma das coisas que fizemos, reconhecendo as dinâmicas sociais da zona onde estamos, foi de forma propositada intencionar que metade, no mínimo metade dos VBAs, dos agentes comunitários de agronegócio, tem que ser, eu estou a falar primeiro de jovens, não do gênero, dos jovens, deviam ser jovens. E conseguimos fazer isso, tivemos uma percentagem um pouco acima dos 50%.
Agora sim, entrei novamente, mas não sei se a internet vai aguentar, porque tá a oscilar muito, muito mesmo.
Ok.
Não sei. Olha, agora travou. Trava, vai.
Ok, estamos aqui com uma situação realmente de internet. Abdul.
Let Abdul
falar, então, por isso.
Não percebi?
Não, eu descalei-me porque estava outra senhora a falar. A minha internet está boa, então se eu posso continuar, eu continuo.
Annabella, if I may suggest, let Abdul respond to the question because I think it's the whole Zambezia that's having.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Thank you, Paulo. Abdul, por favor, pode prosseguir na...
Sim. Ok, então, eu estava a dizer que o que nós fizemos de forma propositada é definir como meta ter pelo menos 50% dos VBAs, dos agentes comunitários de agronegócio jovens. E isso, temos evidências que nos provam de que dos VBAs, daqueles 400, claro, naturalmente que nem todos funcionam da mesma maneira, mas dos que estão em melhor posição de continuar as atividades, que tiveram maior desempenho, que se ligaram na compra de insumos, na venda de insumos e da venda da produção, pelo menos 60%, 70% são jovens. Então, tivemos uma decisão acertada e o engajamento dos jovens neste segmento foi fenomenal. E o mesmo aspecto podemos falar nas SMEs, nos agregadores já. Não conseguimos ter 50%, porque algumas empresas com que trabalhamos estavam criadas, mas influenciamos algumas, mas das que conseguimos criar ou ajudar a criar de jovens, também estão a funcionar da melhor maneira. Agora, o mesmo equilíbrio não se pode dizer ao nível dos produtores. Esse é um trabalho, eu sempre digo, a nossa agricultura está muito envelhecida, e eu sei que há razões históricas por detrás, mas é um trabalho que temos que fazer para o futuro rejuvenescermos a parte da produção. Mas olhando para a questão do gênero, este realmente foi um dos desafios que tivemos, principalmente para termos equilíbrio entre homens e mulheres que são donas ou líderes de negócios, ou que lideram ou que gerem negócios. Mas não conseguimos o equilíbrio em termos de propriedade de negócios, mas temos um caso muito particular na questão das lojas de insumo, nos agrodilas. Muitas lojas da agrodila são propriedades de homens, mas elas são geridas por mulheres. Então, essa também é até uma discussão que tivemos, como é que podemos tratar este indicador desta maneira. Eu acho que no futuro é uma coisa que podemos ter uma forma especial de tratar, mas conseguimos ter muitas mulheres à frente de negócios. Naturalmente, eu penso que, mesmo ao nível da AGRA, é uma coisa que tem que se trabalhar, termos uma estratégia mais acertada, com muitos elementos, que também vai ajudar a nós implementadores também a melhorarmos o nosso desempenho nessa questão de equilíbrio de gênero. Obrigado.
Muito obrigado, Abdul. Realmente a sua resposta ajudou-nos a ter uma visão mais assuntos gênero e jovem. É bom saber que temos mais jovens envolvidos. O grande constrangimento está ainda na parte referente ao género e, como bem disseste, Abdul, lojas, propriedade de homem, geridas por mulher. Este é um assunto que deverá ser realmente discutido, mas é algo que tem que ser discutido por todos nós. Senhora Nilza, o que eu vou pedir para fazer na sua intervenção, gostaríamos de ouvir em relação à questão do processamento versus qualidade. O senhor Afizal, e não só, apresentou, assim como o Simon, apresentou a questão da qualidade como um dos grandes constrangimentos. Pode partilhar um pouco conosco a sua experiência em relação a este aspecto, uma vez que faz parte na cadeia de valor, faz também parte do processamento, compra dos produtores e passa para o processamento. Por favor, senhora Nilza, o tempo é seu. Não consigo ver a Nilza, acredito que a internet voltou a cair. Bem-vindo, consegues ver alguma questão que não tenha sido abordada? Eu não consigo ver aqui no meu chat, no Q&A. Bem-vindo e colegas.
Bom, acho que há uma questão da licínia, que é apenas, acho que um segmento, mas acho que o Abdul está em processo de responder no chat.
Obrigado, bem-vindo. Paulo, eu acredito que nós cobrimos, seria interessante continuarmos as discussões neste webinar, mas nós já estamos 1 hora acima do tempo que tinha sido previsto. Paulo, eu passo a palavra, I hand it over to you, for any advice, but my suggestion would be we move to the closing and we will continue the discussion at the time. Over to you.
You're right, Annabella. I think we have taken a lot of time for a good reason. The discussion was very interesting, but the IT problem is also a factor on this. We started off about 76 people, but 44 are still remaining. I don't want to blame on them, but we are in an era where we are in a multiple tasking situations and a lot of competition for people's time. We should conclude. And if you allow me to say on behalf of the Mozambique AGRA team to thank AGRA